Okay, welcome back to Unfiltered, Unspoken. And again, we are bringing the life experiences to you. Today, this is not just a special guest. We actually have chemistry in that way. Like, this is my sister, Marquetta, however you want to say it. It's real interesting because our parents actually used to date. So this is going to be a real good. We're going to talk about her life experiences, but in portion, a little snippet of this will come up. So I am Marky has went through parent divorce, how it's affected her, abuse, adult traumas, mental and emotional, and she's also going to talk about how she's still currently grieving today. Marky is actively sharing some of her life experiences now, and she's touching folks just like we are. So it's nothing but to have her on Unfiltered Unspoken. And this is the first podcast she has been on. So she's telling her first truth with us. And we love it.
Thank you.
Marky, come on, bring you right on up like the Wheel of Fortune.
Thank you very much. That's an outstanding introduction. And thank you very much for the opportunity. It's always a blessing to be able to share your life experience with somebody else and a good audience to do so with. As she said, Cookie and I actually met because our parents started dating, which is pretty much the beginning of my childhood trauma, dramatic trauma anyway. It's difficult having grown up in a household where you grow up in church and you think the foundation is set, and then the carpet is pulled up from underneath your feet and you have to relocate and end up becoming a child adult, essentially. Having to take care of the home and make sure that you're going to school and taking care of your younger sibling as your parent, my mother, had to uproot her life and begin 2 careers. She navigated a full-time job and went back to school. So the trauma began very early on for me. One of the biggest things and biggest hurdles to overcome was my father having to leave the state. It wasn't just my parents divorced. My father actually moved out of state to take another job, opportunity that was given to him by somebody in the church, and my mother found out happenstantly. A year or 2 later is when he ended up moving in and living with Cookie's, Demetrius's mother. We were talking a little bit earlier, and I was telling her how hurtful it was, having grown up in the church, to find out my father was now cohabitating with someone who's still married to my mother. And I was 11, 12 years old at that time. So, which led to poor decisions when it came to men, led to a boyfriend who was very mentally and physically abusive at the age of 16. Also stalked me when I was away at college. Go figure. Wow. What else can I say? Yeah.
It's all right. We can start off on, what you've already given us here. And if anything else kind of sparks you in your memory, just let us know. We'll work it in. But just
I can't
started.
see you too, so now it just makes me feel like I'm just talking to myself, which is just not.
Oh no. She normally, yeah.
It's helpful to be able to look like I'm talking to somebody else, get some facial feedback. I know y'all can. That's why I'm glad it's pre-recorded. I'm like,
it's all right. It's all right.
We'll bounce back and forth. You'll be up and back, and we'll bounce.
Yeah,
back
I just thought this is my first time I'm looking at myself. Well,
No, we gonna let you do it by yourself.
Like I said, this is her first time sharing, so we honored on that note, right?
On a pre-recorded, podcast platform, absolutely. I mean, I share on a regular basis with people walking up and down, and so, I think it's just a different platform to be able to vocalize. I mean, I've done some live streaming and live videos, but it's just different. But so thank you for putting y'all back into my face. So
it's all right. All right. You're welcome. My first question, what did you, have any inkling what was leading up to in your home?
Absolutely. I mean, things don't come out of the blue. So yes, you're right. Prior to my father leaving, you can feel the tension in the home. I was 11 years old. I was very smart, very wise young lady. I always had what they call the old soul. So, but there was a lady that was calling the home and hanging up. My mother kindly told me, there's probably somebody that's going to call. I mean, my mother and I's voice always sounded alike. So I got quite a few hangups because she didn't know if it was my mother or the child. So there was some turmoil leading up to it. There was a time period where they both weren't going to church together. So, as growing up in the church home, it's like, if you're not going to church together as a family cohesive unit, then there's some disturbances going on. Loss of job. My father lost his job, which ended up the reason why he ended up in Washington, D.C. Because he had an opportunity to go there, so to speak. So he was also told that he had invited my mom to come and go. My mom's like, I'm not uprooting my children to go to Washington, D.C. I don't know anybody. She didn't know anybody in Columbus because she uprooted herself to give herself a better opportunity from Pittsburgh. So yes, I knew. I don't think my little brother knew. He's 3 years younger than me, but yes, I knew. There was some disturbances in the house, which is awful for an 11-year-old kid to know. It's just awful because you're walking around on eggshells. There's secrets going on in the home. So, and I think most children go through some type of trauma. We just don't talk about it enough, which is why a lot of children have a lot of bullying. I think it's all a roller coaster effect.
I agree.
So that lady wasn't my mom, though, right? That was another lady.
No, this was in Columbus, Ohio. So
I just wanted to make sure.
This is before he went to Washington, D.C.
Yeah, because she didn't. My mom, I don't think she knew 100%.
I'm pretty sure she probably didn't know initially. I mean,
yeah. So yeah.
I mean, most women don't. I mean, most women don't know initially. I assume most women don't initially, but
some do. But we're gonna get into that.
I'm trying to say most. I'm trying to give us and them. But I'm always on the positive side. I'm trying to give both of them the benefit of the doubt that it was just happenstance. I know they probably met at the bowling alley because that's where my parents they met bowling. Out and outing. I mean, it's just so.
I don't know, but we did use the bowl a lot. But maybe. Sitting over there laughing, she's like, "Oh shit!"
I mean, it's the common denominator.
Good. I'm in the grand scheme of things, I'm still, learning my way about that other species. You know what I'm saying? I'm just now getting my bearings together, and it is sometimes just hearing
what the male species.
Yes.
How they operate.
Yeah. Well, what they are fully capable of. I mean, to me, I'm fine. I'm in a good, I found who I needed to find before I was sick of it.
I think human beings are that way. You know what I mean? And for my parents, I was saying I had a very open, honest relationship with both of them, and I, I analyzed them as individuals because I really looked at both of my parents as like gods. You know, you got God and you got your parents. You know what I mean? And then by 11, 12, or 13 years old, you realize, okay, they human beings. They've made mistakes. You know, and even male species, they just as naive and insecure as women are.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't have a strong male in the household, then they go floundering, just like us with women. And as being a child that was an adult before I needed to be, you kind of understand that. I mean, I looked at the ages of that they were when they had me versus, you know, and how they were, what was going on in the world at that time period. You know, my dad was a Vietnam veteran. He had previously had been married beforehand. Um, People bouncing back and forth through jobs. It's the 80s. So I'm a historian, so I looked at all of that and I really analyzed that, you know, they human beings and they made mistakes. I can't really be mad at them. I be hurt, but now we're gonna have a conversation, and we have to be really real about it. And so I was getting into the fact that when I was 11, 12, and finding out that, you know, after he had moved away and was living with another woman and he was still married to my mom, I wrote my dad a 4-page letter that my dad actually thought my mom wrote. He told me that as an adult. It's like, no, she never read it. You know, I put the stamp on the envelope, gave it to her, she put it in the mailbox. You know, but I was hurt that you raised me up in the church and you gave me these morals and these standards, but now you're going against them. You know what I mean? But then as an adult, I started asking them about what happened in a relationship. You know, how did it splinter? Where did it go wrong? And they pretty much probably shouldn't have never got married. And I told both of them, y'all probably never should have got married. It was just happenstance. A lot of people get married because of happenstance. You know, I told my husband that too. People do, you know, you either get pregnant or or you just like, I need to get out the house, and you know, we've been together for 2 years, let's just go get married. But that's not why you should get married. If you're not building anything or if you're not in love with each other, you should not. And my parents, you know, he was in the infatuation of it, but my dad was not a responsible individual. My mom was like, let's do this, that, and the other. And when you got that, we can go hang and have a good time, but we ain't building nothing together, and we always conflicting, then you're not really in a good relationship or a good space, you know. So it was disappointing to say the least. So it led me down a rabbit hole, but it also gave me a good foundation to have an open relationship with my parents. Um, Very honest. You know, my dad was like, well, she didn't lose no weight. Well, ironically, at my dad's old age, he ended up getting fat and everybody else would call him. He was, you know, why he was always putting people down. So then you get into the other traumas of childhood, you know, the physical or mental and abuse that you go through. Your parents calling you lazy or fat or you ain't gonna do nothing. What do you think that does to a kid's mentality? You know, it for me, it made me just drive to be even better. For some people, to knock their spirit and soul down. So, from whippings and beatings unnecessarily, you know, because you're angry at work, you know, or you're angry with your own life. So, it's the whole process of understanding that your parents are human beings and not being angry with them takes time. And I'm just thankful and blessed and glad that I had the opportunity to build that relationship with my parents, to be able to tell them that they were wrong when they were wrong and they respected me for it because we're human beings, you know. And you got elders not now that you can't say that to, and it's like, well, why not? Because if we're not going to continue to learn and grow in this world, then what are we here for? None of us are perfect. Somebody else is going to make a mistake. So if you can't learn from each other, then we're just bound to continue to hurt each other.
And it becomes normalized. So things that have happened to them, it carries on. It's like they
So
don't
it's
know to do things differently
differently. Yeah.
because it was done to them. And you know, and you is the same way. I had to understand that with my mom as well, and you know, accept her for who she is, because you know the traumas that they go through, they become normalized, and
Mhm.
they honestly, a lot of times they don't think what they're doing is wrong.
No,
So
they don't.
like,
They
yeah,
don't. But and it's hurtful that when you become an adult, you still can't have that conversation, and for them to understand that that for them they don't even analyze their own life to see how their mistakes were, and just honor it. You know what I mean? Like I said, we're human beings. So I've done some bad things. You have too. And it's okay to say it. You've hurt me. And I'm going to tell you hurt me. Now, if you don't honor that, that's okay too. Just know our relationship just might never be the same. And it probably ever won't be. And that's okay too. Because we're human beings. And I have to live my life and my growth in my own way. So I'm thankful that I didn't have to um, completely cut off, but I did take a step back because I had to heal my own self to be able to go around other people, just like I'm doing now. I got family that don't talk to me now from my own choices, through my own grief, through my own growth, through their own mental and physical abuses. But I'm going to keep healing my own self. So, yeah. So again, having my absent father, and I was a daddy's girl. I mean, when my dad moved, I moved.
and
So
she looked just like her daddy. When I say splitting image, if you want to see a man, just imagine
don't
her with a
say
mustache.
that.
Imagine
Make
her
sure
with a
you cut
mustache. Imagine her
that.
with a mustache. She looked just like her daddy. So when she say daddy's girl, I look like daddy. He couldn't deny her. Daddy's girl.
And my dad would say I look just like my mom. So I think I'm 50-50 of both of them. And I chopped my hair.
And that's why
So
you look even more like him, because that's how he used to wear his hair. Curly.
my hair used to be down on my shoulders, but I cut my hair, and my little brother hates it because it's actually longer than what I usually get it. I usually cut. My older brother Bill, that I'm always around, his namesake, is like, you got a high and tight. You look just like Dad. That's like it's actually shorter than Dad's because I would have them do Dad's haircut like this, just taper a little bit more. And it was a little high. It was about this high. Mine's is usually a little shorter, but yes, I mean, it was my ace. I mean, I was that was my that was my dog. So I think it was at the wrong time for me as a young lady. You 11, 12, 13, get going to preteen and teenagers. So my choices at that age of men were not. mm, it was an experience that I grew and learned from. Um, but I wouldn't have had if my father was there because I would have been right up by not my dad. I would have been wherever he was, and then the person I would have brought home, I would have vetted a whole lot better than I did the first, my first high school boyfriend. But it was a lesson. Um, and he was, we had a couple of physical tussles and some mental abuse, and he stalked me from across town. So he lived on the south side of town. I lived in the suburbs. He had to take an hour to get to the bus to get to see me. So when you coming home from school and you know that they're on the other side of town and they tell you what you're wearing from coming home from school, there's some problems. There's some serious problems going on. And this was in high school. I mean, and you don't tell your mom because my mom working 2 jobs. My little brother knew it, but you kind of compromise who you are for the attention of somebody that ain't really worth your attention. And I think women continue to do that a lot of times. Even as we get older, we don't realize our self value and our self worth. So you spending time with individuals that you really don't need to be spending time with, because we still hurting and we're still seeking and searching somebody or something that's just not there. You need to find your peace and solace within yourself and not in somebody else. So the other day I was like, daddies should really hurt their daughter's feelings early on so they'll get used to knowing how it feels so they'll be able to be stronger.
I don't want to learn that way. I would have preferred not
I,
to learn.
I would have preferred not to learn
Say
my
that.
dad's style. I would have, but it
I
was
love
something
that
that
is.
hit me the other day. I was like, it because that's the closest one for me. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And
Mm-hmm.
then to build her back up. Start her to feel it, build her back up, so she'll understand that this is a cycle that you might have to go through. But make sure that this person is worth your time and your effort. So let me finish that. If you
Yeah.
got a daddy in there, let him know, let her see that disappointment first from you. So because she loves you first. You are her first boyfriend, you her first love, first everything. Just like with a daddy's boy. You get that first hurt from the opposite sex from your parent so that they can rebuild you back up. So you'll know that this doesn't last. You are more valuable than just this little hurt right now.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Come on, Sid. Let's toss another question.
Okay. Well,
And I'll
um,
come after you because I got
yeah.
one.
How was you all's you and your father's relationship after he moved? How was the method of keeping in touch sufficient? Do you think that he
Oh
did what
no.
he could do from his distance, or
Oh no. I bothered the hell out of my daddy. Because I was the one. I bothered him. I called. He ain't answer the phone sometimes. He might call back. Lied a lot. Oh, one of the biggest things I can't. Yeah. One of the biggest things that strikes my nerves is a liar. Somebody to tell me you're gonna do something, you don't come through with it because it's something that was rooted from my dad. Um, you go to the store, you go to that way, you come home, you think you're gonna get it. Next week, you ain't get nothing. Disappointment. That's why I say you learn it early on.
Mhm.
And then it actually ends up shaping you into being who you are. So I don't count on nobody to do nothing. If I don't have it, I don't have it. If I want it, I'm gonna get it.
Mhm.
If it needs to be fixed, I'm gonna fix it because my daddy taught me to fix most of my mechanical issues anyway, and anything else that I need to fix. The only reason why I ask for help now is because I got neck and back issues. However, I might just suffer through it because I was taught to be an independent woman and to do it on my own. You
And
don't have
did you go
nobody
through
else
the
to rely on. Huh?
Did you go through? Did your mom? Did y'all go through the financial piece of it? Like, was a lot of the financial
Oh,
burden on your mother?
oh yeah. I mean, he didn't pay child support. There was a whole, uh, yeah. And with child support, let me pump the brakes on it because I know a lot of men and women go back and forth on child support, and I'm like this. This is why I ain't want no kids. I couldn't have any kids, but I ain't want no kids because
I never even knew he was on child support till you just said that.
oh no, 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 no. Because of the state of where he was going, because of he worked independent, they couldn't as independent contractor, they couldn't actually garnish his wage, his paycheck, yada yada yada. But when it comes to child support, you don't have to do no child mandate. Took two people to bring a child in this world, and it needs to take two people to raise that child, be it a household, the food, clothes on their back. That's the three basic things that any person needs to live. Um, so no. Did I feel it? Yes. I was babysitting at 11, 12 years old, 13, 14 years old. I had a job at Kroger so I can supplement my mother's income.
Well,
So I was an adult. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
And for me, as a financial piece, you dealt with the. I mean, I guess we both had similar situations, but and I think that's why a lot of the situations that I was in too when it came to men being, and I guess probably you too as a woman, we set our standards up a little bit higher, and a lot of the burden falls on us because we watch men not want to go to work, get evicted. I can tell you multiple times. I mean, from my parents and your dad together, we got evicted multiple times, and you can't understand like why are we
No,
getting evicted.
yeah,
Like it's.
yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, my mother never dealt with that. My mother ended up finding a perfect opportunity. A lady was leaving a low income housing in the suburbs, so it always went on her income. But I can't imagine, and hearing you tell me that for the first time, it almost makes me cry because I could never imagine my daddy not. But I also look at the economy and unfortunately the job opportunities at that time, which probably made it very difficult, especially for Black men, even as a Vietnam veteran. Not to make any excuses, it's just fucked up.
Yeah,
Um,
I
and
mean,
and it, and it
it was that
and
that piece of it either. I mean,
yeah,
from what I
yeah.
realized, what I remember, I
Yeah,
just
I mean,
I remember.
that's traumatic. I mean, because you like, so where am I going next?
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
packing up your stuff. You who does that? So yeah, I couldn't imagine. I'd have been nauseated and sick every time. I mean, it's just
Mhm.
yeah. But for me, I don't. I've never. I don't ask any. I don't ask men for money. I ain't never asked my husband for no money.
Hmm.
Um,
I'm the same way too. It takes a. I mean, I gotta be damn near. I don't know, like somewhere like it's
well,
so
see,
hard.
they got other opportunities, so they, if I need to, I'm gonna go down to Plasma Blank. I'm just not gonna ask for it. You know what I mean? I've asked a couple of times, but it does. It takes a lot. It gives me anxiety, depression. Actually, the last time I asked my dad for something, it took me like 2-3 days. And when I told him it took me 2-3 days to call him and ask him, he fussed at me. He was like, "Don't." I was like, "It just does. It gives me anxiety, and I get actually mentally and physically sick if I gotta ask somebody for some money, especially a man.
I
I
feel the
literally
exact same.
get I literally get mentally and physically
Woo.
sick.
Yeah, like sitting there trying to run the scenario before you got to actually do it.
Well,
It's
yeah,
always which
yeah,
away.
just to say no. But my parents taught me that. When I was a kid, I couldn't ask my grandparents or my aunts for any money, even to go to the corner store to get candy. Get the candy at the candy store, the penny candy. I couldn't ask them. So I was taught early on not to ask anybody for anything but myself. So is it a childhood trauma? Probably so, because they didn't want them to think that they didn't have any money.
But it cripples us too
It does.
because
But
if
they
we
didn't
really
want them, but think about it. They didn't want them to think that they didn't have any money because of the stigmatism of families.
are you the same way, Sid?
In which way?
Um, Afraid to ask for anything.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't
I mean,
say it.
not afraid, but I
Yeah,
would say
I don't
our
like it.
pride and our ego that
I
make
don't
us.
like it. And I don't even know if it's like an ego thing. I don't like being indebted to anybody. I don't like I would just feel some type of a like obligation, even if they, send me a text about a totally unrelated issue. I'm gonna feel like I gotta respond because I owe them. You know what I mean? Like I don't want them to think I'm acting funny at any moment after they didn't help me, or I don't know what my apprehensions be. I just know I like the feeling that I get from it. I don't like it.
Now,
Hmm.
Don't do it.
I will be very honest. I have in the last couple of years been very, 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 very blessed to have people um, that have given to me in such a way that I'm trying not to cry. um,
Cry if you. Hey, I tell people
I gotta
crying
make it work. I'm trying not
free.
to because I'm a
It's
crybaby.
okay.
I am.
It's
My
okay.
friends will tell you I'm the biggest crybaby. Um, and just open doors that I never expected. So I think having not been that one that always asked and have been that I've been told. Let me not say that. I've been told, Marky, you don't never ask anybody for anything, and it is an honor for us to do for you. So don't ever hesitate to ask. And for me, I'm like, I hear you. Thank you. And the ones that know have blessed me without me even having to ask. And that right there, or even when I did, one of my sisters blessed me and above and beyond anything anybody would ever can ever do. And the first thing she said is, "Don't you ever think about paying me back." So those are times when you really understand the blessings of having good people and good friends in your life. And I've got some great friends. How many tissue? I've got some absolutely outstanding friends, just friends. So although I won't ask, the ones that know have blessed. And it's just honorable to be able to walk this earth and have it to give it back to be give it have given it back to me. So yeah. I'm gonna
We
get you for
will
making me
let you
cry.
freshen up. I'm gonna give you like 30 seconds to freshen up. We're gonna take a real quick break, and like I said, it's gonna will it back on in, so we can get a little deeper. And really quick, again, times are challenging. Y'all see the quick commercials coming on for any insurance needs. If you're having trouble getting insurance policies, please reach out to Sid. We're gonna let her shout out how to contact her on social media as well. Um, Sid will get you a policy, even if it's a small policy. If you keep getting denied, rejected, she has a solution for you. So contact Sid for any insurance needs. People are so fixed on material stuff and have no insurance. We see it all the time. You look beautiful, you look gorgeous, you spend your money on clothes, but you ain't, or material, hot cars, but you ain't got no insurance. And you can't take that stuff, and you leave this burden on your folks when you go. So you out buying Louis and Gucci and Prada and Chanel, and you ain't got no insurance. Shame on you, because Sid can get you a policy, and you should have those things first before the material things. Those should come after.
Look, and even if you are a material person, what you should know is that the most financially savvy people have insurance policies. This is how they make investments. You can draw from them just like a 401k, tax free, tax penalty free. This is how the rich stay rich. This is what they do, is what they don't teach us. So if you do want to speak with me about it, I am here and we can get you set up with something. But we are going to swing it back to Miss Amarki and continue on with going through her life experiences. So we've focused a lot, on the divorce portion of your life. But I do recall you when you were kind of running things down, around the age of about 16, you were in a doozy of a relationship. So tell us a little, about that. How did that materialize?
Like any other stupid teenage encounter. Well, I'm too old, so met at the arcade. Ended up, just talking and being a boyfriend. Lost my virginity to him. But again, he stayed on the other side of town. Just, I don't know, stupid teenageness. It's just 30 years ago. So I learned a lot from that. Definitely learned not to let somebody control who you are, and to continue to be yourself. Now you don't have to limit yourself because somebody doesn't like something about you. Not to compromise who you are, what you gonna say, what you gonna wear, who you gonna talk to, who your friends are. If you have to do all that, then that person is not the person for you. So I learned that at 16, 17 years old, very early on, the controlling behavior. It's unhealthy. And I think a lot of young girls fall into it because they're looking for somebody to love them. But that's not love at all. Love is that they like you for you, your smart mouth, your attitude, and your ability to protect them and the other people around you. That's me. So it was that's what I learned about myself from that. Yeah, but it was difficult. It was definitely a difficult thing to navigate at 16 years old and trying to go to school, getting good grades, working. But then you got this boyfriend that is calling and constantly making sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But then I'm sexually active too, so wasn't supposed to be sexually active. Thank God I couldn't have any kids, but biologically, because I would have been a teenage parent. Yeah. So, and then he stalked me in college. Yeah, we had been broken up for almost 2 years, and the reason why I know he stalked me in college is because I ran into his brother that summer, and he told me that he came down looking for me a couple of times on my small little campus at Central State University. So, yeah, scary to think 2 years later that they're still looking for you.
Now, were you guys at, both like high school age, or was he older?
He was 3 years older than I was.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a freshman. He was a senior. Yeah. And he went to the opposite, he was in the opposite side of town. So like I said, I was in the suburbs and he was in the hood. So I think being in the suburbs was a great escape for guys at that time to get out of the hood. So
I agree wholeheartedly, because I'm on the VA side, and when you mess with DC dudes, they find their way.
I was straight VA girl, and I sure wanted to hang in DC. I was like,
they just make you feel,
yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even that, but they just even when they come to your side, sometimes if they are willing, for one, because they'll make it a big issue that they on this side.
Oh, it's all the way out there.
First of all the way out there, or talk about the, I don't mess with police in VA, blah, 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 all of that. So when you actually get them to come, they make you feel like it's some wild special moment, or it's special because you are the ones that got them out there. And then you make them feel like, then they start realizing things is, cool, calm, and peaceful. Then you got this wild idea, you're giving them peace, or their solitude, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just
look, that boy caught the bus for an hour every time he came out to see me, both ways.
And complain about it each time, and keep doing it.
He didn't complain.
Okay.
He didn't complain. Most of them never. I mean, that was his thing. He's like, "Oh, you live all the way in Westboro," but most of them was like, "I'm coming out anyway." But my high school, he didn't complain. He came out every goddamn week, every week, at least once a week. He was out at the house, which was not really a good thing. If my daughter had a boyfriend that was coming from the south side, there's some questions I got to ask. But unfortunately, my mom worked 2 jobs. Fortunately for me, she worked 2 jobs to keep a roof over our head. She said, "I work 2 jobs so I can eat steak." Unfortunately, I knew the schedule, so he'd be in and out the house before she even know it. So, yeah, he was always out in the house.
Yeah.
Being stalked is not a good feeling.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't, because there was only.
I had a guy literally stay in front of my house for over 25 hours. 25.
Oh no.
And I don't care if you call it was some psychotic, crazy ass shit that I was like, what the hell? But that's deep. That's not for this. That is another topic.
I mean, it was still scary. I mean, it was scary enough for me that I was like, "What are you looking for me for?" After all this time, I didn't think that he was necessarily physically harmed me. It was just that I didn't want to be bothered with him anymore, But it was still scary. Yeah, it was. But it was still scary, years later when I ran into when his daughter was 16 years old and she knew who I was. I'm like, I ain't seen that face said. Yes, I was at the nail salon with his sister, and I was getting my toes done, and his sister came in with a little girl, and she was his 16-year-old daughter at the time, and she was like, "Oh yeah, this is your dad's high school girl." "Oh yeah, I knew about you." I'm like, "Why does your daughter know who I am. I ain't seen you in.
I'd have been like, can we wrap this up? Because I got to go. I don't
Yeah,
like
so you know, I
that.
left a memorable marker. That was some craziness.
Virginity to you?
Or some I be thinking mine ain't snapping like it need to snap or something. I ain't had no stalker before. What is going
You
on?
don't want one.
I don't.
You
I
don't
don't.
want one.
I don't.
And again, that was years ago.
I'm sure if you make it out, it's a little notch on your ego.
No, it was not enough on the ego. He could have kept all of that to himself. It was very quite scary. The fact that your 16-year-old daughter, well, when she was 16, that she knew who I was. Like,
That
oh yeah, I've heard of you.
he probably got a shrine. I'm intrigued now. I want to do a crime series on him.
He got a picture on his mantelpiece.
That's what I'm saying. He must got a shrine.
So his best friend and my best friend. My best friend is baby's daddy is his best friend. So there's always going to be a connection in that form or fashion. Let me put that out there as a disclaimer. So it was still weird. It was still weird.
I mean, it was going to be weird.
See,
because you done already.
This is the positive me trying to cover.
That's what I'm saying. But you made it clear that you was done. That's literally why it's weird. Because why are you still?
Yeah, I was done. Moved on.
That's the weird part about it. Like it don't matter who y'all know. Like I said, I'm done. Like I don't.
Mental thing. I'm telling you. I think like mentally, it's something. People that stalk people, I don't care if it's a male or female, because females stalk men, and they do all kind of crazy stuff, scratch their cars up, flatten their tires.
I think they think that they can always still have you. Yeah. I think they always think that they can still have you. Yeah, they're horrible. Yeah.
It's also a type of control as well. Because some people are not the type to really make moves. Like real instinctive or not instinctive, but just real sudden moves as far as danger goes. But if they can find out everything about you, let you know that they're in your head, know that you got them, they have you scared, and so it's a turn on for a lot of people. So.
Yeah, triggers. I've learned about triggers early on. There was, the vehicle that you seen, or it's like, are they around the corner? Definitely.
And that would definitely do me in, because I'm a person that just like to fly under the radar normally. Like I don't like the attention. Like I don't like nobody knowing my movements, my whereabouts. So he probably knew something about you that, you know what I mean. He knew you would not like that. You would not take to that very well. Probably so.
But I'm glad that's why I'm glad to have the distance, you know what I mean? And being in the suburbs and being all the way out in the country, it does help not to be in the neighborhood. So,
yeah. One of my friends told me, he was like, he got me so, and it's a guy friend, and I love my other friends because they keep it real. And he was like, don't you ever post a picture where you're at. Post it the next day. So now I guess I'll post when I'm gone from the area. Like last night when I posted a picture, I waited till I got all the way home, and then I posted the picture where I was at, because
because you don't know if somebody's going to be at your house. I apologize. I've got to get used to the back and forth. So I apologize. I'm normally having a conversation that's going back and forth on the feed. So I apologize.
It's all right.
I want to touch really quick on some of your adult traumas, because this is just bigger than the childhood. And I'm assuming some of the childhood issues trickled into the adulthood issues. But you got some adult traumas that have occurred as well.
I think my biggest adult trauma has been probably the last 20 years of my life. I shouldn't say last 20 years. But I think my biggest trauma that I've gone through was when my husband had a stroke as an adult. Because your life changes right before your eyes. And he wasn't my husband when he had his stroke. He was still just my boyfriend when he had his stroke. And I was also dealing with my mother's depression, so I had already retired my mother on from her mental depression. But that traumatic. He called me at work when he was having a stroke, um, and I could tell he was having a stroke because he couldn't talk to me. Um, so there was a week of not knowing if he was going to live or die. What do you do? Because we didn't live together. So I had to uproot him and move him into my home with my mother. Um, mm, Nursing, rehabilitation, back and forth to the hospitals. For the first month, when he had a stroke, it was ICU, back out of ICU. One night they couldn't get him to stop bleeding for 45 minutes. I didn't know if he was going to live or not that night. So that was the biggest trauma for me more recently. I guess my own physical traumas, body limitations, having neck surgery unexpectedly, which changed the trajectory of my physical body. That's why I'm now retired on disability. So my childhood trauma, my adult traumas are definitely rooted in those last couple of years of the last 10 years of my life. Yeah. Which has also led into my current grieving a lot too. Yeah. So I'm so glad this is pre-recorded so you can chop and screw.
We really don't.
We're not chopping nothing.
We throw it up raw.
Okay, so oh God, I'm gonna need y'all to chop and screw. Okay, so yeah, I mean, traumatically, my body changing unexpectedly. Like I said, I had my C3 and C4, my cervical, fused in 2013, which just changes your whole body. I continued to go on and finished up my college degree, but my body would never be the same. That was 2012. 2013 is when my husband had his stroke. Again, I had a great network of support around me. Outstanding network of support. I wouldn't have never survived, from my college friends to my coworkers to my boss ladies. But it changes you. It changes how you think about people. It changes how you look at the world. Definitely how you look at the world. Some people are very empathetic, and some people are just downright rude. But having to take care of somebody unexpectedly, I think it really changed who I was as a person, as a human being. I think I care a lot more about people. I care a lot more about people. I think I walk the walk of it takes a village more than most people do. Yeah. If we don't look out for each other and help each other, then this is why we live in a doomed world. And that's why we should be a lot more kinder to people. And we're talking about the traumas that we go through: mental, physical, spiritual abuse, all of it. So I know that his stroke changed me as a person completely. To go into current grief, I mean, my first biggest grief started in 2015, right before I went out on disability, with my oldest brother's death, and my sister in 2019, and I lost my dad in 2021, my oldest godson in 2021, and then my husband in 2022. So, and I think a lot of times we continue on in life and don't really process the grief. With my husband's death, I have had no choice but to process grief. Sometimes I walk into a store and I just bust out in tears. Sometimes I'll just start crying, and like, what are you doing? You can't control it. But it's therapeutic. you know. Yeah, that's my biggest trauma. And I think it comes from childhood. I've always been a caregiver, being an adult as a child, taking care of the home. So maybe it was just prepping me for where I need to be right now as an adult, taking care of home, and now I'm taking care of me. Yeah.
Just on a relatable sense, and I have a question following, but um, I remember at one point, just when you were kind of speaking about, seeing when things go down and you kind of, how get a different perspective about people and, how to carry on after the fact. And you're used to being the person that's taking care of everything, taking care of everyone. My mother went through a similar situation. She has lupus. She's had it for years, but it all kind of came to a head in like '09. So you have this person who then take care of her kids by herself, didn't need nothing, fix everything herself, buy everything
Yeah.
herself, and all of it just come crashing down. You don't work no more. She was hospitalized for 6 months, and literally had to lean on other people to pay her bills and take care of her affairs and all of that. And, it, my question really is I'm sure, that is part of your trauma right now. Having to kind of come to a head as to what's going on, like you're not able to support yourself like you normally would. Future endeavors, whether you want to just jump up and do something, you can't. You're limited, and I know that really affects my mom a lot because she does not ask nobody to do nothing for her.
Well,
So
I'm really, really blessed. I'm really blessed. I cannot say anything more than that I'm really blessed. Most days, I tell people I look good, but I'm always in pain. But most days I can get up and do whatever I want to. I do not work, but I am on my second career as a painter. So I haven't. But it's challenging to know that I'm. It's only me. I don't have any kids. Um, so who will take care of me? So that's something that I have not fully addressed in this year. It's like one of the last hurdles that I want to deal with. It is because it's I don't know if it's like it's not the final step, but it's like one of the last final steps into finalizing everything else. Um, but I do need to take care of me in that respect. I need to figure out who is going to take care of my. Well, I have children, so biologically mine. So if they watch this and they'll be like, "I'm working," I'm like, "I know I have children," but still, it's the paperwork aspect of everything. It has to be taken care of, and that's something I don't think a lot of people really take into consideration. When you're a caregiver of you and other people, you still have that aspect to take care of. Um, as well as your own mental health in that process. And sometimes my mental health is not ready to process all that paperwork. And it's okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's okay.
And it is.
It'll get taken care of. Just probably not today. Um, but I know that I'm doing really good when it comes to my grieving process. And I say that because um, I am grieving. I don't think a lot of people do grieve, but I do have things to look forward to. There's days where I'm have my down days where I don't want to get out of the bed, but I make myself get out of the bed. But I look forward to coming downstairs and painting. I look forward to coming down and meddling with my plants. And that's important. Um, it's very important. But grief is challenging. But I'm in a good space. I know I'm in a good space. I got good people around me, and that's most important.
Agree. Agree. And just like you, my mother out of the blue, she had a massive stroke, always doing something. My mother was always moving if she not fixing. She had that go getter adrenaline, and that's one thing I can give her. And out of the blue, she had my son was there, and she fell on the floor, and everybody calling me, couldn't get her up, and she's only 30% mobile now. So you go from that healthy to you have to take care of them. And I remember, leaving work, trying to work, working from the hospital, going to work, picking the kids up, we in the hospital, going home at 1, 2 in the morning with the kids ready to fall asleep behind the wheel. That piece of it, that the and I'm not I would say weight, but it's extra weight put on
Oh,
us.
it is
And
is yes. It's definitely a lot of extra weight. Like I said, my husband was the only child, so it fell on me. So I was at the hospital the first week by myself in ICU. Um, Good thing I had a great job. I had great. I was in college, so my cohorts were excellent. They like do what you got to do, but it's a burden. Um, Again, I had great friends around me and a great network of support. So I had coworkers that like, you make sure you go home and get some sleep. One of my best friends every Friday, she's like, come on, we're going to get some. We went and had happy hour, you know. My classmates, son, here's the extra note. So I mean, the weight of going every day, it wasn't a burden because every time I went in there, he was improving. And one day he was like, "Why are you smiling so much?" I said, "Because every day you tell me you getting better." So it is a burden, but it was also an honor to be able to be by his side to do so. Because there's so
exactly,
many people that don't have nobody to be by their sides. And
exactly.
because I had such a great my work husband stepped up and helped me clean out his house. I can't name. I mean, one of his old friends came by that I had never met before was there when I need to go out of town. I mean, eh, I could just say God took care of me. When you look
He
at
did.
things, he took care of me in that time, and he still does to this day. I mean, I have a muse that just keeps me smiling all the time. You know what I mean? And it's
And
good.
And for my mother, it was a lot of folks there, and we had that visit, co-workers that visit the hospital. But as time goes on, people do fade away. So
Oh
that
yeah.
burden now, it's like a lot of it is still on us. And even with the process of the good fight, unfiltered, unspoken, I think a lot of folks look at what you have, the material aspect of it, but not the work that we put in. Like I'm literally like trying to take care of multiple households, and not just taking care of multiple households. I lost my full time job. I'm going to air it here now because I've been holding it. And since we're talking about like the burdens of it, I have a part time, but my full time, which what I invest in the good fight and unfiltered, unspoken, um, is my own personal money. And you reach out, and it's good that you have help, but you reach out, people look at like all the piece of it, but they don't realize like everything that you work for. I work 100 hours. Even Sid has to jump on me and be like, "You need to get some rest or do something." My family does too, but I can't sit down. So I'll create stuff, candles, shirts, whatever to raise revenue. But people still look at that, oh, she got it. No, I work hard. Like I work for this, but not just working as a passion to share life experiences across the board. Like sitting we put so much time in, and it's, for me, it's personal money that I'm putting to raise, but also the material, the merchandise aspect of it. And I'm running off a smaller salary, and I'm trying to push merchandise and stuff out to keep the good fight going, but people still look at that aspect. My brother told me it's days I don't want to get up. I don't want to dress like you, get out the bed and do things. And, I got a shitload of clothes because, I never spent big. I buy on sale, right? But my brother was like, you better not go in there. If I got a hoodie on and jeans and some sneakers, my brother look at me like, all that shit you got in your closet, you better not. And, he checked me because I'll call him and I'll be like, I think I'm gonna wear this. This is how I feel. He was like, man, you better go on there. He said, the people that don't have no money, they dress nice. And that's how you dress. You dress like you worth money, that you value yourself. So he actually helps me get up, put myself together when it's days I don't. My spirits are up. I'm still at the most peace. I still love myself more than anything. But pushing out this mission and trying to do everything to keep the good fight afloat in the office space that I and everything, and taking care of my mom who's had a massive stroke, who's 30% mobile. My son's there with her a lot, so he helps out a lot, and most of his little money that he makes, he puts in the household too. You know what it's like. Today I had to tell him, I was like, I don't have it like that. I can't do it. They don't even know that I lost my job. My mama said they don't know that I lost my full-time job. I still have my part-time job, but they don't know. So I had to tell them today, look, y'all got to do something better. I can't keep doing this. Y'all got to make this work. But I just, you get up every day and you grieve and you just keep pushing. But people make assumptions about how we feel, what they perceive, or what they look at, or what they see. But they don't look at the hurt piece of what we're going. You never know what the person next to you is going through. But because I have good people around me like you that push me, that's why I get up and dress nice and I try to look like I'm $1,000,000. It's stuff like that. But I don't really. We push this mission. Said thank you. I love you. My best friend, all of them. My best friend called me today and was like, I need to buy 2 shirts. Where I cash app you at? I have people supporting me in little teeny pieces, and it's a beautiful thing. I today I was like, how am I pay this? How am I pay this? And then I get a sale. I'm like, oh shit, thank you, like thank you, God forgive me. Thank you, Jesus. Like God just continues to bless me in the littlest tiny ways, but it's big, right? It's actually it's really, really big.
Yeah.
And
you never know where it's gonna come from. And that's the most honorable thing about it. It's just walking in that faith. And I think for me, the more I've walked in the faith in the last couple of months, the better it's been. I've been following my spirit, not my head, not my left and right brain. Because a lot of times my left and right brain want to fight with each other. But if I sit and just be still and let my soul guide me and let me know which way I'm supposed to go, then then I do good. And I've been doing wonderful in that aspect. But it is a challenge, especially when when you have your own business. Most people don't realize that struggle that you go through, and the fact that you're gonna have to cut back and tell people that you're gonna have to cut back. Again, I am blessed in the fact that I work for the state of Ohio. So financially, I'm okay, but it's still challenging for me to actually succumb to the fact that I am disabled and that I am limited. And I still do hurt myself overextending sometimes. But I also believe in self-care.
You take care of your mother.
Yes. And unfortunately, I had to place my mother in a home because I couldn't take care of her, which is also whole nother conversation of how I think some people don't realize there comes a point where you don't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. I couldn't go to the bathroom and I wonder if she's going to leave out the door. I can't lock all the doors in the house. So that's traumatic. Something else that I've traumatically had to deal with this year. Um, and half my family don't talk to me because of so.
Did she have dementia or Alzheimer's?
Yeah, it's actually been she's actually now been diagnosed with so. It went from major depression to that. Um, so yeah,
And ain't nobody gonna take care of her. That's the thing. People have so much to say,
not only that,
and
but I have to put this out there, and whoever can be mad at me later on, but the phone calls I've gotten is, why haven't you done this, versus, hey, how are you doing? How are you? Just you. Not even how are you doing since your husband passed, or how you doing since you lost your daddy, but how are you? Because it's a process, and I think that was going back to making sure that you take care of you. Because in this whole thing, I have to be selfish about me.
mm-hmm.
You
And so
know, so
many people ask why you don't do this. Well, why didn't you help?
ain't help, ain't been there. Have it again? Not even just to say hello, how you doing? That's helpful. Just even call to say hi, how are you today is helpful when you're taking care of everybody else and you trying to get your grind on. It's just helpful. I'm just saying, you ain't got to send me $1. You ain't got to send me 50 cents. You could just say, hey, how you can send a text. Hey, I was thinking about you today. It goes a long way. It might be cliche, but it goes a long way. So take care of yourself, because again, I don't need you to make sure you're drinking plenty of water. I don't need you to be like, we don't need to repeat the same cycles that we've dealt with with our family. So, Cookie, take your time.
The biggest one is the hypervigilance. Feeling like we need to do everything. That is a trauma response, y'all. That is
It
a valid
is.
trauma. Just because we do it don't mean it's normal.
Right. So for me today, I'm like, I want to bum out and I don't want to do anything. And I feel really
Feel
guilty about not wanting
horrible.
to do it. I feel so guilty. And my friends is like, you got neck and back issues. Sit your ass down and
Horrible.
don't
Like
do
it is
nothing. I'm like,
it's
I
legitimately
gotta do
trauma.
something.
It's trauma. Like don't downplay it. When you hear other people going through stuff and you comparing traumas and whatnot, don't, because it's trauma. It's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're doing it because we had to.
I know. I don't
That's
have
not
to anymore.
that's
I
it.
can sit down.
It
I can sit down.
That's all we trying to do. That's all I'm trying to do. So with that being said,
I'm trying to
it's
sit my ass down.
I'm telling you, and with that being said, them pieces for sale? Your pieces for sale? How can
Yes.
these viewers help you get to
Please
that
do.
dream? Or if they have a similar life experience that they want to connect with you on, as well as buy some of your beautiful pieces. You do see the scrolling contacts down at the bottom, but I will let you also explain, the best way for anybody to get in contact or to view what you might have for sale, or just to help you in your own endeavors. So you got the floor.
Please
Yeah.
contact me at MJ underscore love you underscore art on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. And you have my email address. Yes, this is my art. Couple of abstract pieces. This one's more of an African piece. The other one's a celestial piece. But most of my art is abstract, tribal, landscape. And it was something I've started a couple of years ago. My heart song is what somebody told me. It gives me great passion. I can actually paint all day long and not care. And so when you see my art one day in the museums, my signature is a heart with the U in the middle of it to remind you to love you first through all the depression, anxiety that we go through. I created it with Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade. Shout out to DJ Twitch, who just passed away through suicide, to remind us to love ourselves first. So change you and love you first. And remember, it takes a village. So reach out to me so you get some of my great art. And I do commissions. So if you have a landscape or something that you want done, hit me up and I'll give you my rendition of it. So thank you for the opportunity. Um, it's been a
Yeah.
blessing.
And before we go, can you give one thing, just advice on one thing to let folks know what will help them through grieving that has helped you?
If you contact me, I will give you my husband's prayer card. Um, Before he passed, he told me not to mourn him long, and he gave me the prayer on the back to remind us not to mourn him long or our loved ones long, to remind us that they are flying high above us to watch over us. I believe that our angels and ancestors are our energy. As science says, energy is never created nor destroyed. So if we are energy and our angels and ancestors are our energy, they are always around us. So just speak to them and be at whole and be at peace. Yeah.
Power. Yeah, that was powerful. So now we're wrapping it up. Marky, thank you. Sister, we have I love how we can collab and talk about things and not be upset at things, even though it's our parents. We know right from right, we know wrong from wrong, and we've learned from them, and they've helped us bloom into who we are now. If anyone has Marky has shared her experience through traumas through divorce. So we know a lot of our youth have been through traumas through divorce. If you're going through that, um, please reach out to Marky. You may have connected through her through this episode here. Please come into Unfiltered Unspoken Society of Survivors. That's our private group. Our public group is the Good Fight. There's an E on the end of good. And I'm going to scroll it while we're closing up. Follow us on YouTube. We're going to continue to share life experiences to help others going through similar situations. You never know who you may connect with. Marky has went through traumas of divorce from her parents, of mental, emotional abuse through a boyfriend. She's had to take on taking care of her husband. He had a massive stroke, but it's a lot. It's good and bad from that, but it's a burden put on her. And then she's just lost her husband. So she's going through the grieving of not just her husband, but multiple loved ones that she has lost. So, mental health checks are real. Check on the folks that you love. Like she said, how are you doing? It's okay to say, how are you doing? It doesn't hurt. It only takes a second instead of give me, why. How are you doing? And if you feel as though someone's not doing it right, maybe you should step up and help them, because we all need help in the process. And thank you for tuning into Unfiltered Unspoken. Sid, thank you again. I love you, sis. Marky, thank you again. I love you, sis.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you, Sid.
Yes, and we're going to wrap it up. Tune into our next episode. We will see you soon.